Part of the art is the creation, but also part of the art is the sharing. And one of the reasons why sharing art can be a little bit scary is the judgments. And as someone who identified as an artist, when she said that I wasn't a real artist, but her friend was, it kind of made me wonder, like, what am I then? Hello and welcome. My name is Beth Gatza. I am a professional portrait painter, but I also specialize in teaching beginner portrait painters how to get to the next level and create beautiful, realistic portraits by switching to a reliable painting process or adopting a reliable painting process for the first time so that they can take the guesswork out of creating realistic portraits and achieve the results that they always desired in a fraction of the time. So having a reliable painting process for me has allowed me to create the portraits I've always dreamed of creating in any style that I choose without ever wondering if it's going to turn out the way that I've envisioned or anticipated or worried that I'm going to mess it up halfway through. So I created this video series because I wanted to make sure that I took the mystery out of how to actually create a realistic portrait painting on repeat and completely eliminate that feeling like you're just not talented enough. We're just gonna break apart, dive through, and kind of digest what it is that makes portrait painting a little bit challenging at times and how you can make it easier on yourself by adopting a painting process. So in this video, I just really wanted to introduce myself to you. I am a professional portrait painter, and I have also been an in-class art teacher and also have taught two A-list celebrity families. I have had my portraits in film and television.
This is what I want. It would make me really sad if God couldn't read.
But I had very humble beginnings, and I'm gonna be sharing that story with you today. So I'm not sure if I'm the only one, or maybe you feel this way, but when I first started, I was just so overwhelmed by all the information that was available. It made it nearly impossible just for me to start. I can so clearly remember what it was like to be standing in front of my canvas with a million thoughts going through my head. Like, what am I doing? Am I doing this right? What colors should I be using? How do I make this look realistic? Why does my painting look nothing like the reference photo? There's a lot of good information on the internet, but I wasn't able to find anything that put everything together in a system or a process that just made sense to me. And if I found something that was sort of getting close, there wasn't enough examples to show it on a subject that was other than a beautiful model. I wanted to see the process being used with real people with different ages and skin colors and gender. I just remember that I was always second guessing myself, and I just felt like I was throwing paint at the canvas. But it wasn't really until I had this extremely embarrassing experience that I finally realized that maybe I needed to find a better way. I have always been a painter. My mom was a painter growing up, and she was the one who kind of initially taught me. I did want to go to art school and got a scholarship to go to my top art school, but even with the scholarship, it was just way too expensive. So I ended up going to a state school where I majored in cinematography and minored in fine art. I've always loved portrait painting, and I had portraits that when I was emotionally in tune, the portraits would turn out good. People would say, wow, it's really nice, and I felt good about it. But it wasn't all the time. So a good friend of mine had asked if I could add a painting to one of her art shows, and it just gave me an opportunity, or at least motivation, to kind of get me back behind the easel. I had chosen to paint my then boyfriend and now husband, and following in the footsteps of a typical 20-something-year-old, I just decided to start it a few days before the exhibit with no plan, no preparation, and just I don't know, I was just gonna wing it. But as the painting progressed, things just started to look off. And the proportions just weren't right, and the facial features didn't match on either side. The hair was really flat and basic, and I kind of made my husband look like he was gonna throw up. And he's a really attractive guy too, so this wasn't good. And I really had no idea how to get it back. It wasn't like I just do Control-Alt-Delete and get it back to the next step to where I made it before. So every time I made a progressive step, it just felt it was just getting worse. So it got to the day, the hour, the minute of the show, and I had been working on it until the moment we really did have to leave for the show. And when we arrived to the art show, the paint was still wet on the canvas. And I was just so desperate for a little bit more time, but it was too late. So I hung the painting on the wall, and I just felt embarrassed. I felt like defeated. I felt just so talentless. And my embarrassment really did come from because this was like who I identified as. Like I identified as an artist, and I hung this thing up on the wall that I just really wasn't proud of. And family, friends, and people I didn't know were going to be taking a look at it, and that's what they were going to be judging me on. And I just knew that I could do better than that. And I knew like deep down inside of me, a lot of it did have to do with like no plan, no preparation, and no process. But I just also didn't really know what that would look like. But anyhow, back to the show, my friend came up to me and started talking, and I was feeling like a little embarrassed at first talking to her, but then I just decided to kind of let it go and enjoy myself. So as I was talking to my friend, she had mentioned that she had another friend who had gone to this art academy, and she was just so good at painting. And then she said to me something that just completely rocked my world. And she said, well, yeah, you're a good artist, but she's actually a real artist. Like, she's really good. And it was like, I hate to admit how painful that it was for me, because by admitting that, it makes, it's something that makes me admit that, I think you can agree that art is just, part of the art is the creation, but also part of the art is the sharing. And one of the reasons why sharing art can be a little bit scary is the judgments. And as someone who identified as an artist, when she said that I wasn't a real artist, but her friend was, it kind of made me wonder, like, what am I then? I've always identified as this. Does this mean that other people aren't seeing me as a real artist? And what does that even mean? What does that even look like? And so I had a lot of like internal things that I had to deal with. And little did I know that that mindset was actually part of a process that I needed to learn as well. So I had yet to adopt a part of the process that had to deal with how I handle internal challenges, struggles, and how I would see myself breaking through those limitations that I had set for myself. So anyhow, the friend showed up and she had put her painting up on the wall. When I looked at it, what can I say? It was absolutely stunning. It was incredible. I felt a little bit envious, to be completely honest with you. And I just really wanted to know like how she did it, like what was her secret. And I knew that she had gone to an art academy, and I just kept on thinking to myself, oh man, if only I was able to go to an art academy. Like, that was the mindset I was in. I didn't realize that there was something else at the moment that needed to change. I really could see a clear difference between her portrait painting and mine. And hers really did look professional, and it really did look more realistic, but even though it looked realistic, it didn't sacrifice her unique style. So I really did make it a priority to speak with her afterwards, even though I had that feeling in my stomach, like, oh my gosh, I'm just a little bit jealous of this girl. She is incredible. But she didn't really give me that much information, except the fact that she would continuously talk about her meticulous painting process. And I was like, oh, yes, your meticulous painting process. And like, didn't really know what that meant, but I was kind of like in the back of my head, like, painting process, I need to think about this. What does that mean? What does that entail? I'm going to research this later. I sort of was just like trying to dig deeper to hearing like less about her painting process and more about like, well, what paint colors were you using? What paint brushes were you using? Like, I just thought that like those specific things were the things that really made a realistic portrait, or made it look more professional, or made it just to kind of shine a little bit brighter, or how I thought it was looking. The problem with thinking this way is it really does stop us from excelling, from moving forward, and believing that we can learn from our mistakes, that we can actually get better by taking action.